Hey guys, we're going to take a look at the new M12 Fuel brushless 3/8" ratchet. It's model number 2557-20. It also comes in a 2-battery kit with the -22 designation. This is a big upgrade over the old brushed ratchet. The older ones had 35 foot-pounds of torque. This one's got 55 foot-pounds of torque. And the half-inch model, this is a 3/8, but the half-inch model has 60 foot-pounds of torque. There's also quite a bit of redesigning of the head of this. With a much stouter drive mechanism here. It's a little bit bigger, but it's a lot stronger. All right, so here it is up close. It's beefed up quite a bit over the older version. They added a lot of strength to this to account for the extra torque that it outputs. If you compare it to a regular, just manual ratchet, it's a little bit wider than our manual ratchet. And then if you look at the depth, it's quite a bit deeper. But if you hold the manual ratchet up, you can see that the added depth is this yoke right here that you get from it being a powered ratchet. So the actual ratchet mechanism isn't that much bigger than a standard one. It switches directions pretty much just like a regular ratchet. You just turn the switch on the back of the head and you can get forward or reverse out of it. The variable speed trigger is right here, set up quite a bit like an air ratchet is. It pivots about this back end and you got a variable speed mechanism right here, and as you squeeze it, the light will come on, and then as you squeeze it more, it's pretty controllable as far as speed goes. So its variable speed trigger covers 0 to 200 RPM. That's slightly slower than the older model, so they traded a little bit of speed for a lot more torque. The older one was 250 RPM, this one is 200. There's also a lockout switch on the bottom. You can turn this, and this will actually stop you from actuating the trigger. That way you can put it in a bag or a toolbox and not have to worry about this getting depressed and it running the battery out while it spins aimlessly in the toolbox. So the fans on the metal head have vents right here for cooling, and I'm guessing there's a gearbox somewhere around here and then a motor just to allow for the amount of torque that it outputs, with the electronics probably back in the back here. The overall length is right around 11 7/8 of an inch, so it's not terribly long, and it's a little bit better than an air ratchet because you're going to have an air hose sticking out of the back, and unless you've got that on a swivel, it's really going to limit the amount of movement you have, getting it into places that the air hose might be in the way normally. And with that extra torque that we have, this is actually a good length for 55 foot-pounds of torque, because much more than that, and this really wouldn't be controllable if you get it up against a stuck nut that you're trying to break loose, or if you're tightening it all the way, you'll get a kick at the end of there. And the first time I used this, I actually dropped it because I was not expecting such a strong kick. I should have been, knowing the specs, but it caught me by surprise. And just a testament to how much torque this thing has, this is a M6 screw with 1mm threads that I was an idiot and actually accidentally sheared off while I was fastening it with the ratchet. And I was just running it on, and I was planning on slowing down at the end and finishing it by hand. But this thing went on so fast, and it's powerful enough that it just kind of, while I wasn't paying attention, sheared this thing right off without seemingly much effort at all. So that was completely my fault for not paying attention to what I was doing. But just so you know, this thing has a ton of torque, and when you're using it on smaller fasteners like this, you got to be careful. So I'd recommend, once you get it down to almost on there, just go ahead and finish it by hand instead of actually running it with the motor. That's one of the benefits of using a ratchet like this, is you can still use this like a hand tool and finish off whether you're tightening or loosening a fastener. You can get a little bit more torque at the end if you use it by hand. And you can use a little bit less torque and get a little more finesse if you do it by hand at the end as well. All right, so I used this thing quite a bit, replacing the shocks on my truck last week, and I did not think to videotape it, so I've got a short video of it loosening the retaining nut on the spare tire on my truck, and it's a surprisingly large fastener that this could actually break loose. It had some rust on it as well. Didn't have any problem with it. Broke it loose and tightened it back up just fine. All right, one distinction I wanted to make, I've got the M12 right angle impact driver right here compared to the M12 fuel ratchet. And these are meant for different purposes. I've used this one in the past for automotive work, even though it's not really meant for it. I'm always surprised the number of comments I get on this review video telling me I should be using it for automotive work because it's not meant for that purpose. But it's gotten by for quite a while with a right angle adapter. It doesn't have nearly the reduction in depth that the actual purpose-built ratchet has, but it works sometimes. The impressive thing about the ratchet is this is an impact driver, which means it has a rotational impulse that gives a high amount of torque for a very short amount of time. And the output of this is 50 foot-pounds of torque, and that's a very short burst. This ratchet has a sustained 55 foot-pounds of torque, which is just downright impressive in my opinion. You're getting air quality performance, air ratchet quality performance out of a 12-volt battery-powered tool. And it's a constant torque, unlike the impulsive torque of this right angle impact driver. Just wanted to make that distinction. These are similar looking tools, but they have very different purposes and how they were designed. All right, so price point. This thing is $150 bare tool for the 3/8 inch model. The 1/4 inch and the 1/2 inch are actually a little bit more expensive, $10 to $20 more, I think. And then if you buy it in the 2 battery kit, it's around $230. So that's quite an upgrade over the old one, which is $150. But then again, this one does almost have 50% more torque. Not quite there, but the 1/2 inch model does have just about 50% more torque. For the capability upgrade of this, I think the price tag bump is justified. It is a very nice tool, and it can save you a ton of time. So I think the 3/8 inch drive model is a great compromise between the 1/4 inch and the 1/2 inch. Of course, suiting your needs. If you do all of your own mechanics work, you might want to go with a little bit more variation there and have some a drive head that gets into a little bit smaller places, and then one that's got a little bit more torque. But for 5 foot-pounds less torque for the 3/8 inch drive, this one's going to fit just about all my needs. Most of my sockets are 3/8 inch anyway, so this works great for me. So hopefully this review was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. And once again, don't forget to subscribe.